If I look back at my career as a certified gamer, it's easy to spot certain patterns of preferred format that were closely tied to different stages of my life. But only recently I have actually
sit down, relax,
sat down to have a more in-depth conversation with myself about how these preferences have changed over time and how they continue to change and adapt to my current self. My first memories are tied to a few specific games, but most notably GTA Vice City and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the PC. I remember that if my parents had not limited my access to the computer, which in hindsight was pretty wise of them, I could spend an unlimited time getting immersed in these game worlds. My child's brain was blown away by the vibrant world inside my computer. And even by spending huge amounts of hours in these games, I never actually finished any of them. Largely, of course, because I didn't understand English very well, so I did everything through trial and error. Now it seems absurd to try something like this, but then the goal was not to finish or achieve something. The goal was just to keep wandering, to have this sense of unlimited exploration ahead of me. It was easier to get lost doing meaningless things like wandering around the beach in Vice City or the pixelated Hogwarts grounds. And these initial experiences shaped a lot of my future relationship with gaming. Even though I dabbled a bit with Counter-Strike for a while due to it being a social activity, it never did really stick to me. I progressed to games like GTA San Andreas and Halo with a strong storyline and immersive world.
What the hell are you doing?
For me, the pinnacle of this was looking at some early Skyrim trailers. I knew I thought to myself, that's a goal I'll be working towards. And I did actually enjoy this format. During my late years of high school and later first years of university, even though I still had a pretty potato-specced PC, I still played the heck out of games like Skyrim and later Witcher 3. Which also was the main reason for me to learn how to build a PC from second-hand parts. But life has this habit of constantly changing, and many things did. After graduating and landing a real job, I was able to upgrade my PC, so it could run more or less any game that I wanted. I was also able to purchase a better monitor, headphones, chair, and so on. And all these upgrades just to find myself playing games like Balatro, Mini Motorways, or Slay the Spire, while games like Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, and Baldur's Gate 3 sit in my wishlist waiting for the right moment, just to always get pushed back by some semi-obscure indie game. I find a great deal of satisfaction in gradually finishing things not only in games but in life in general. In gaming, this was most obvious during my first playthrough of The Witcher 3. As much as I would want, I just could not progress while not visiting every question mark on the map, checking every nook and cranny. If I blitz through the main story, I feel like I'm missing out on something, but if I want to check everything and do every side quest, I have to spend lots of hours of uninterrupted gameplay to get everything done. And although I still try to find time for gaming, the big change in the format of how I engage with video games is that the time spent with this hobby has gotten more and more fragmented. Instead of pulling an all-nighter or the whole weekend of just gaming, I can get maybe an hour or two a day, and even that is quite irregular. There are more periods of interruption, more streaks of days when I'm away from home, away from my gaming rig, so I more often encounter situations like this. I finally get the inspiration to launch Baldur's Gate 3 after not touching it for around 2 months. First, I need to remember who was in my party and why. Then I check the inventories of said party members to understand what kind of gear are they currently using and what is the playstyle of each character. After that is done, I check the quest journal, hoping to remember what was my thought process regarding progression and which of the quests I was most likely targeting next. And of course, I also need to skim the companion logs not to say something inappropriate to any of them. And I also have tadpoles in my head. Then I orient myself in time and space that helps to understand which quest I was pursuing. I wander around a bit and meet a lava elemental. After spending more time than I would like to admit on recalling basic combat skills, finally beating the monster and finding a guy trapped in an amulet, I understand that I don't have the necessary items to finish the quest I thought I had prioritized in the past, so it's high time to get out of Dodge, just before encountering a warning that I'm about to progress with the story, that gets me to doubt if I really have combed through everything necessary in this region. And that's all my time for this gaming session. With a month or two, rinse and repeat. I know I may have exaggerated a bit, but that is more or less an accurate depiction of what happens in my head before launching a game like this. Immersive games, as fun as they can be, by design require immersion, and more often than not, that includes elements like quest logs, crafting systems, resource collection, and planning ahead, which all need momentum and can get tedious if there are long interruptions between game sessions and you have to spend time and mental load just getting back to the previous thought process. Also, as the big AAA games get more and more expensive, the developers and publishers need to make the player feel like they are getting their money's worth of a gaming experience. So as the budgets increase, so does the vastness of these game worlds and the time a game requests I spend with it, to get the full story or the full intended experience or whatever it may be. I understand that I start to feel intimidated by the thought of dedicating tens of hours to a game to finish it. What if I don't like it? What if I get bored after 5 hours? What if the 5 indie games I could purchase for this one AAA game price would yield a better overall experience? This fragmentation of my free time and living circumstances push me to ask these important questions, and answering them honestly and true to myself is actually not as easy as I would like. Only after spending a decent amount of time with this idea and testing out various formats have I come to conclusions that have changed my perspective and put me on a new path, a path laid with sweat and hard work of indie game developers. As of the mid-2020s, describing a game as indie by itself doesn't mean much. It can vary from free asset packs slapped together in Unity to people programming their own engines and spending years polishing the perfect title. So what I would like to focus on are the short-run games that center their gameplay loop around self-contained sessions. It just so happens that most of these games are in fact indie titles. Due to the limitations of making a game with scarce resources, indie developers can't rely on eye-watering graphics, ultra-realism, or million background things that can take away players' attention. Often, they also have a limited time window to catch and hold a new player's attention, as there are no previous installments or already existing IPs. And these limiting factors are what push these games to find creative ways to engage the player in exciting tight loops that are enhanced by small changes along the way to be replayable many times. Think of games like Faster Than Light, Balatro, Brotato, Slade Spire, Mini Motorways, Slice and Dice, Vampire Survivors, Dome Keeper, Tiny Rogues, Gnomes, or Terminus Zombie Survivors. These are games I can play for a while, drop for a few months, and jump back with ease. Each session is a self-contained experience with a clear feedback loop, clear tasks, a clear beginning, and a clear ending. Either a won or a lost run, both give a clear closure. I've noticed that even on the rare occasion when I have more interrupted time to spend on gaming, I will tend to launch one of these just mentioned titles and even play multiple of these games over one evening rather than choosing something like Baldur's Gate 3, which at least on paper is a game I should absolutely adore. But still, it gets put back to some undisclosed future when I'll have more time. And the more time I spend without booting up the game, the more I forget what I was doing there. So this creates this negative feedback loop where the will to jump back in drops only lower and lower as the time goes by. I enjoy the absence of pressure to dedicate an unknown amount of hours to a single game, and the need to bring any information from one game session to another. I enjoy the randomness that these short-run games often utilize to keep each experience fresh and semi-unpredictable. These games adapt to my schedule and not the other way around. Also, bigger games, especially the more recent ones, require a decently powerful PC to handle them with a reasonable frame rate. And as I keep spending more time away from home, due to work and leisure activities where I obviously don't pack my gaming rig with me, these smaller titles that can often even run on my MacBook Air and take up less space than one horse model in Red Dead Redemption 2 are true lifesavers. I'm not ruling out that the issue might be deeper than just the fragmentation of my time. It could also be my poor brain's reaction to overstimulation. Even though I try quite hard to limit my exposure to the rise of short-form content, I can't be so oblivious to say I'm unaffected by this change, or the way content is being manufactured and consumed. And there could be other reasons, but regardless of that, I am happy where I am currently. I'm happy I still have games to look forward to. I'm happy to have found a format that gives me joy and aligns with my personality traits, and there are countless of developers out there pouring their heart and soul into crafting new creative experiences for players like me to enjoy, and for that I am truly thankful. If I could have just one main takeaway from all this internal discussion that I could give out as an advice, it would be to ask yourself, do I play because I enjoy the game, or do I just play because I know I'm supposed to enjoy the game? And if you made it this far in the video, I truly thank you for your time. Leave a comment if you have different opinions, and if you would like to see more content in similar fashion. Stay safe and bye for now.
What the hell are you doing?